to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. That's a first. What just happened? I actually hit the live button, and StreamYard told me there's too much traffic. We can't go live, so I'm doing my intro, and the third time, finally at 7:01, it works, and looks like we're live here on all links. Got a great show with you for tonight. Going to talk about what are the games here opening up this one of these apps. I'm going to talk about one of the games, particularly a lot of people are not talking about, is the Bears and Titans. Talk about that a little bit later. Plus, got a few thoughts on these NBA playoffs. That's probably what I'll start to run down with, since these are actually games that are happening. Great game the other night from the Joker. I think they're going to close it out tonight, but who knows? Netflix getting into the Netflix will be doing a 10-part documentary series on Jerry Jones. Plus, they're going to have Christmas Day games, 2 Christmas Day NFL games. NFL is just giving it out to the highest bidder. Talk about that as well. There's a story about Justin Fields in there, so I've got a lot to talk about. May talk about a few other schedule games and whatnot. But first, let's take our first and only break. I'll be back here in 49 seconds. We'll hit the ground running here on Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to Sports, that is Sports with an S, another S, Scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. All righty then, folks. I do want to thank Jeremy Ballrick for having me on his program yesterday. That being said, not a big fan of panels, folks, and always a sound issue. Too many people trying to talk. Just advice for other, people that are small time and trying to get going with live stream shows or podcasts or whatnot. The best advice I can give you, if it's going to be 2 hosts, you want to have one guest at one time, and that's it. It's I've never been a fan of it on TV. Really not a fan of it on the internet. It's way too much commotion. And if anybody asks me to do it again, I'm going to probably say no. Maybe if you're offering a lot of money, then I still may not do it. So panels, it's too much confusion out there to do a panel here. So anyways, good to see you, Pickles. Pickles says pay-per-view NFL is moving people away from the game. Yeah, they want to go global, but they're running off the local audiences. And it's the National Football League. It's not the World Football League. I understand you want to greed is just driving the NFL. And it's really sad that they're taking away the sanctity of this the specialty of appointment TV. But I'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's talk about the games last night. Dallas. I've been telling everybody, I think Luka's pretty bad off. I mean, he's got just a whole list of knee strain, this strain, that strain. He's like the 10-man, Pickles. I mean, you got to put some oil on this guy, his elbows, his knees, his ankles. But Dallas must have shot him up with something last night. because he really came out at 31 points. I've got a screenshot here in a second here. I've got so much stuff on here. Duke triple-double last night, 31 points, 11 assists, 10 rebounds, shot 50% here. Kyrie Irving also just stayed at 11 shots. I don't know. That's his thing, but he did shoot 50% as well. They go on and win, take a 3-2 lead. I think they're going to win this series. And it goes to show you what I've been saying. Also, kudos to Boston. Although, Cleveland was limping, they did finish it off. They did finish Cleveland off. They're ready to move on and play the winner of the Knicks, and I think the Knicks are going to find a way in 6 or 7 to win that series as well. But I guess what I'm saying is that I've been right all along. That the veteran teams, not teams post 35, not your Golden States, 36-year-old Steph Curry, not your Lakers with LeBron, who's about 40, not your Phoenix with a 36-year-old who will be 36 in September, Kevin Durant, but your teams, mid to late 20s, early 30s, been in the playoffs a few years. That's your teams that are new successful, regardless of seed most of the time. Those are your teams that are going to be successful regardless of seed most of the time. Your Denver was not a 1 seed. They look to be in control here. Dallas, obviously, they are beating a 1 seed. Now, Boston is the 1 seed and been underachieving. Even the Knicks, Brunson, everybody said Brunson's 28. He'll be 28 in August. So these teams have been in the playoffs a few years. That is your prime. That is your prime age there to be successful in the league. 27 to about 32, something like that. That's really, if you got your main player at that age, that's really, if you believe in him, that's really when you want to press far to load the team up around him and make your championship run. And that's been the theme so far, regardless of seed, although Boston, they had the 1 seed, obviously. But you all get my point here. And again, Denver, I think they'll close it out tonight. The Joker, 40 points the other night, last before I talked to you. Really doing it in on the defensive player of the year, showing everybody that last year wasn't a fluke, living up to that MVP type of standings. Although Mike Conley did read that he will be back tonight, regardless of what happens here. So we'll see how this thing plays out. Yeah, Tibbs does have these guys rolling. He's got them playing hard. They're communicating. And, I heard something today that they've got, 3 and 4 guards at one time. You got 3 guards. They look like Villanova about 20 years ago, even though these guys didn't play together for Villanova 20 years ago. Villanova, when I was in college, had a really good team, had a Final Four team. We're talking 2004. It might have been 2006 or 2007, actually. They end up getting put out by the much bigger, much more balanced Florida team that ended up winning 2 national championships. Jay Wright, he had 3 guards on that team. They were small, but they were scrappy, And I want to say one of them was a player that ended up winning a championship there. Kyle Lowry, I want to say, was on one of those teams with Toronto. Little, scrappy, little engine that could. They're still a big man short, a really good power forward there, short there. We'll see what happens here in the offseason as it comes about. They're a great story, more of a story than a team. But, hey, people, in a day and age now where we have players that are just load management, mailing it in, players getting coaches fired. It's good. It's such a pure, it's as pure as this water right here, Pickles. To see players still give it their all and play together, have team chemistry, homegrown, things that just make this game amazing. The crowd's really into it there. Then instead of a bunch of prima donnas here griping about every little thing, I was reading some stories that about the Cavaliers that the team is irritated and the coaching staff was irritated with Jared Allen because he didn't get any shots. He didn't get any shot, get his to get numbed up to go play with those bad ribs that he had, and the team is irritated with JB Bickerstaff, so he could get fired at any moment, the coach there. And Donovan Mitchell, there's 4 or 5 teams that he might go to, including Miami and the Memphis Grizzlies, and I wouldn't have none of. Now, if he went to Miami, he would have to pass the litmus test. So listen, if you go to Miami, you got to play hard. You got to play hard. Like New York does up there. So, but yeah, guys like Josh Hart playing his guts out. He's getting all those offensive rebounds. Him and Hartenstein. And they're just a really good story. I've always liked that. It's like the old school Knicks teams. A lot of us growing up to watch that were born in the 80s and watched them as a little kid in the 90s with Patrick Ewing, John Starks, Oakley, and that bunch, and even the coaches there. Pat Riley was with them for quite a few years where they just played their guts out, It's good for the league. It really is. It's good for the league. So, but like I said, your prime age there, you want mid to late 20s to early 30s. That seems to be panning out right now, just about like I think in the NBA. Okay. So since the last time I spoke with you all, the schedules have not quite been out. Now, we've got them out now, okay? And I'm out of Nashville. My man, John Restano, although he lives in the Niagara Falls area, Buffalo area, John's growing up a huge Bears fan, massive Bears fan. Good friend of mine I work with, Corey, if he watches the program, he's a big Celtics fan. But growing up, Corey telling me he's a big Bears fan as well, And those two teams, Pickles, the Titans will open up against the Bears as 4.5-point underdogs. Okay. And trying to see if I can get my stuff here. Will Levis. The interesting, I picked this game to talk about specifically. These are 2 quarterbacks on short leases. You said, why do you say that for? You look at the teams that are built around. I've never really seen a situation of recent memory, some of you may have, where 2 quarterbacks that are very young have came into a better situation as far as skill players, offensive line, defensive line. I can't really recall that. For example, Will Levis, he's in his second year player for the Tennessee Titans. He'll be 25 next month. Happy birthday, Will. June the 27th. I think that makes him a Gemini, right? Right, Pickles. So he'll be 25 next month. The Titans will open their season at the Bears. Highly sought after prospect Caleb Williams. Again, like I mentioned, going back to my notes here, because I get too far off script, I'll start missing out on some key points here. Again, 4.5-point favorites. Looking at these 2 rosters, remember the Titans were 6-11 last year and spent a lot of money in high draft capital on offensive line, let alone another 1,000-yard receiver there, and Calvin Ridley to put him on opposite of DeAndre Hopkins, not to mention a former first-round pick. A lot of potential, a lot of talent there Trayvon Burks. I mentioned Tyler Boyd as well the other day. And an offensive-minded head coach, Bill Callahan again, dad being one of the best offensive line coaches in the NFL. And it all starts Sunday, September 8th, right? But by the end of the season, with that team, not to mention defensive guys like L'Jarius Sneed added to this team, very high-end corner, Awuzie. They've already had a good pass. Tennessee had a good pass rush, and they were good against the run last year as well. And iDrive Capital had second most money. And I'm telling you, by the end of the season, a decision, and you say, well, this ain't right. I'm telling you, by the end of this season, with this coaching staff, that offensive line, as we projected to be, those skill players, that amount of money spent on the other side of the ball, there will be a decision made on Will Levis. Now, it might not be publicly, but there will be a decision made. How well he completes third down. How his third down conversion. Does he pass the eye test with the teams that this is a totally different story when you got a guy that says, okay, like when, for example, Peyton Manning, when he was drafted in 1998, very bad team. Number 1 overall pick, they were pretty bad. Even though Peyton was a highly, highly sought-after prospect, okay, the expectations weren't for a year or two for him to set the world on fire because the team was stripped down to the studs. Of course, eventually they got Marshall Faulk, then they moved off of him. They got Adrian James, Marvin Harrison Sr., and we all know what happened after that. Eventually, they become one of the best offenses in the NFL and later won a Super Bowl. But in this particular situation, I think Levis will be looked at by the end of this year. They will say that he's yay or nay. And whether it's fair or not, life's not fair, And then you see the other side of the ball, Caleb Williams. That Bears team was 7-10 last year, and they could have very well been 10-7 with the addition of Keenan Allen to star wide receiver that I mentioned, Keenan Allen, 1,000-yard plus wide receiver. Already there, DJ Moore, 1,000-yard plus receiver. Cole Kmet, contract extension. DeAndre Swift added on at running back. Better than average offensive line, well above average offensive line. Okay. Even if the Bears, say they finish 8-9 or whatever, and Ron Poles and ownership wants to move off Matt Eberflus, and they get an offensive-minded head coach and bring him in 2025, by Thanksgiving of 2025, mid-season, late October, just say Thanksgiving, a decision will be made whether or not Caleb Williams is the guy or not. Because the talent is overwhelming, see? And you're judged by what you got to work with, And I've always had a feeling for this over the years, Pickles, where I think to myself, okay, I can measure this up. I can tell when and where decisions are going to be made about these players. I said at the end of last year, a decision will be made on Justin Fields. And I don't know, about middle of the season last year, I said, yeah, they're going to do away with Fields. And finally, John Restano, he agreed with me. But by next year, with this roster, fair or not, a decision will be made whether they start the process of going after another free agent, drafting somebody, they will start to make that decision, not this coming up season for Caleb, but next year. And it all starts, again, September 8th, Sunday. Titans will play at the Bears, and that's when that clock will start. I forgot. I didn't realize that Levis was 25. He's got 4 years. So I really expect him to play well. I expect Caleb Williams to play well. I don't know how many games they're going to win, but I think he'll probably pass that eye test with this group. But they've got a new offensive coordinator up there in Chicago. The clock will be starting on him, but it'll be even though if it's two different systems or not, you've got to be mature beyond your years, especially for quarterback. Now, speaking of that, staying with the Bears here, all right, there was a story out about Justin Fields. I'll say this. According to this story, the Bears made the right decision, And let me say this. Players come in raw. They come in raw. Jalen Hurts, I was totally out on him early on. Everybody else was high on him. I was not one of those people, But leadership skills, guys like Jim Jeffcoat, he said, young kid, his dad's a coach. He's got good leadership skills. He's got a well of a work ethic. Trust me. And I remember him telling me that. And you look at a guy like Lamar Jackson, totally raw. I mean, Bill Polian said this guy should be a receiver. I was right there with him. I was totally, even after he won MVP. But those two players, particularly those two players, you could see them physically putting in the work from year 1 to year 2, week 1 to week 2, getting bigger physically, making better reads, smarter with the football. And you can tell by the reactions of those teams around them, because they see they see these guys every day, the Eagles, and of course that Raven team, totally turning around everything they do and flipping the offense around Lamar Jackson, because they see these guys taking the initiative, growing into the position, putting the work in. Okay, they can see those guys putting the work in. There's a story out that came out early this week about Justin Fields, that was not the case. Now that he's gone, stuff is starting to leak out. Okay, going back to Justin Fields coming out of Ohio, there was a story. Dan Orlowski talked about it with ESPN, that he had work ethic issues at Ohio State. I liked the film that I seen, but I did know he come out of Ohio State. Excellent receivers, excellent scheme. You just outman most teams you play. I get all that. Kind of dismissed that a little bit, but I did remember it. But now, according to Tyler Dunn of Go Long, but everybody picked up on this story, including the New York Post. Some Fox personalities have talked about it. It says Fields made no new friends during his rookie season with the Bears. Ahead of the 2021 campaign, Fields reportedly, Pickles, had a toxic as blank as hell relationship with the other two quarterbacks on the team, namely Nick Foles, according to this guy, Tyler Dunn. The crux of the issue seems to be that Fields, who the Bears traded up with the Giants, I forgot about that, but they did, traded up with the Giants to draft, couldn't take much constructive criticism from Fields, who attempted to advise Foles. Remember, Nick Foles won a Super Bowl. Anybody that wins a Super Bowl MVP and outduels Tom Brady, I might be physically bigger than you, stronger than you, faster than you, but I'm going to hear what you got to say, man, because there's 100 million people watching those Super Bowls, and Foles was flawless, Pickles. He was flawless, during this time. But the crux seems to be that Fields, for the Bears traded up, could not take much constructive criticism. Foles, who attempted to advise the young quarterback, only to find out Fields was not paying attention to the Super Bowl winning quarterback, as anonymous source told Go Long, could not stand each other. Result, Fields' lack of respect during the teachable moment for the rookie. This is not the first time we've heard of troubling Darren Fields' time in the Chicago since being traded to Pittsburgh, and particularly the Bears' ex-director of player personnel told Windy City Gridiron in February that Fields was by far the best quarterback in 2021, but refused to take advice from Foles and from Andy Dalton. Said, quote, "We're having two vets with him. We thought," that's what you get for thinking, right, Pickles? "We thought having two vets with him would really help him and Andy and Nick. And that was not cohesive at all," Lucas said. "There was a teachable moments every snap on Sunday. We got two guys there that has won as much as Nick and has seen as much as Andy. And you don't seem to take in the information because you're too standoffish and a little abrasive. You're wasting that opportunity." Of course, he's messing with his phone, blowing these guys off. That's what it's like when you've got the physical talent like that, And there's a lot of guys. Well, shoot, there's guys every year, Pickles, that come out and they're 6'4", 225, throw a ball country mile. But if you aren't humble, and this is where I'm at with Levis, because I know that was a knock on Will Levis too. That's why Levis fell to the second round with Tennessee. That's why Aaron Rodgers fell, 23 spots to Green Bay, being cocky, When the coaches see that, they say, this guy's not going to be teachable. He knows it all. He's the end-all, be-all. Then you got a guy like Fields here who's got all those physical attributes, and you've got to humble yourself and be a student of this game, and also take into guys that's not have the success that you're projected to have, and be a student of the game. Be a Greg Maddux. That was one thing that people really liked about Tom Brady, even though he's going to be humble. No. Yeah, he's a 6th round pick. We know that. But remember, Tom Brady won a Super Bowl his second year. He outplayed a $100 million number 1 overall pick. He could have got cocky at any point during that time. And he never did. He always stayed with that. And again, a lot of this is you have to be mature beyond your years. Easier said than done. I don't know if I would at 22. Some guys never grew up, But I guess I say all that because I just talked about Caleb Williams. So if you're thinking about that's why that word traveled around the league, and that's why he was a 6th round pick, or that's why he was traded for a 6th round pick. He's got to clean this up himself. He's got to grow up. If I'm him, I probably wouldn't have wanted to go to the Steelers. I'd wanted to go and learn and be a student of the game and humble myself. And a lot of it's what it is. Yeah, that cocky attitude can get yourself out of the league real quick. That and a lazy work ethic. So I guess I said that to say, listen, the Bears made the right moves. Fields fans, they made the right. Now maybe Caleb Williams is not that guy. Maybe he's the same thing. Well, you just do it again. You do it again till you find that guy that is that student in the game, and it's really unfortunate. I totally forgot about that he had worked with Nick Foles, and I thought at the time, yeah, Nick Foles, man, Yeah, he's a good guy, man. He'll talk to you. He's already got his. He's made good money. He's already got a ring. And no, Pickles calls them coach killers, And you just got to be, friends talk about the Braves from the 90s all the time. Greg Maddux done won. How many gold gloves did Greg Maddux win? 8, 9? And even at the end of his career, 36, 37, 38, I was still hearing stories about Greg Maddux being a student of the game. Peyton Manning, as much respect as he's got around the league, Peyton Manning still had a student of the game mentality way up in the last year of his career. Still had that mentality as a student of the game. And, ego gets blown out of proportion. And that's what I really like about Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes is on the verge of being considered the greatest. Okay. Mahomes got 2 rings, going on 3 possibly. Got 3 rings, 2 straight. I've got him at 4 or 5 all time. And he's still very thankful and grateful for everything. He still doesn't try. He's not this huge stat guy. And I've read the other day, he's the most marketable player in the NFL. You still got to be a student. Pickle says that's 12 gold gloves. That's even more impressive, man. I mean, and I understand, again, they said that Jeff George had that same problem. Throw a ball country mile, one of the best arms out there. And he had that cocky mentality, that entitlement. I'm going to see Jason Whitlock going to his Fearless conference again. I'm going to stay out to the whole thing here on June 1st here on Saturday, June 1st, a couple of weeks from now. And I bring up Whitlock because he went to high school with Jeff George in Indianapolis area, I think, somewhere in Indiana. He told me. And he said this guy was world class. But he said he's like that in high school. Everybody knew he was the best athlete. But it went over from he never really put all that into work and say, because people essentially want to stop working once you get to a certain point. I see it all the time. I think guys like Marcus Mariota, Jameis Winston. If you saw Jameis Winston as a sophomore in college, I thought, man, this guy could be a superstar. I mean, he is killing it at Florida State. But we knew about Winston's childish behavior and not just the crab leg stuff, but he stopped working. And not too many quarterbacks admit this, but I know Michael Vick did. One of the best athletes I've ever seen. He said, when Michael Vick said, when I went up to Green Bay and that was a very impressive win he was like second or third year, beat Green Bay in Lambeau Field in December. Didn't happen when Favre was there. He said, I thought I made it and I stopped working. Stopped being a student of the game. And sure enough, he got in some off the field, so he got in a dogfight and stuff. But you could tell that Winston, once he won that national championship, he stopped being a student, man. And he stayed right there. Still careless. And his talent was so good, it's kept him in the league this long, But Pickle says a three-peat would set him apart from the rest, and they've got a rough schedule, and yeah, George is right there with Elway. But people say Elway was cocky and stuff, but Elway always smiled with those big teeth. Okay. Elway always, like a Brady, like a Manning, he always seemed like one of the guys. even though he went to Stanford, smart guy. I guess probably because he wasn't really that successful at Stanford. He never got to a bowl game, you know? So it's interesting to see. It's something to look at in these young quarterbacks going forward. How much of a student, how much are you going to humble yourself? You're starting over here in the NFL of the game. Okay. Okay, so Jerry Jones, staying in the NFL. Jerry Jones Netflix documentary last year, of what I read, had paid just under $50 million. Let's see if I can find this story here. And I don't know, I couldn't find out everything on this. But Netflix had $50 million. This was last year. I don't know if this went to Jerry Jones or this went to the NFL for footage. But I got this from Pro Football Talk. Netflix announced it's got a 10-part documentary series on Jerry Jones. The fact the entertainment company is making a documentary about the Cowboys owner, though, it was reported a year ago Netflix played just under $50 million in winning a bid war with ESPN and Amazon, which, by the way, they probably beat them both. Although ESPN did do really well on the OJ documentary. They did well in that. But theirs are not quite. Netflix is good, man. Netflix is pretty good. Anyways, okay. The announcement gives no information about when the series will debut. Netflix teamed up with this Skydance Sports and NFL Films in association with Stardust Frames Productions for exclusive access to Jerry Jones, what it calls never-before-seen footage, with Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, Emmitt Smith, Deion Sanders are featured in a documentary, along with, yes, head coaches Jimmy Johnson, Barry Switzer, Phil Knight, founder of Nike, and even the former president, George W. Bush. So this is supposed to be all that in a cup of soup. And this will be interesting. And it also notes that Netflix also announced the America's Sweethearts Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders series at AT&T Stadium will host Jake Paul in the Mike Tyson fight coming up in July. Okay. These streaming services, I'm not in love with it. And also, I'm going to mention here, the Wall Street Journal reported that Netflix will pay about $75 million per game on Christmas to air Chiefs, Steelers, and Ravens, Texans. Now, that's on Christmas Day. Netflix will be hosting this year's games while snagging a holiday game in 25 and 26 as well, according to the Journal. But back to Jerry Jones. By watching Netflix with the Tom Brady roast, with the Cat Williams thing, with the University of Florida Gators documentary, the Johnny Manziel documentary, just documentaries in general. They are one of the best at this stuff. Streaming services are a tidal wave to pro sports. And it's something I've been fighting for years. I want to do a boycott on Amazon. And it just seems like there's reports a few weeks ago, and I think I mentioned it on this program, that they're going to have the NBA games on Amazon, and I don't like it. I've never liked it, but I will say this. It's now there's being talks because of cable companies bundling these streaming services into one and kind of doing it like that, where you just pay one fee and you just get everything into it. Netflix will probably be, since we're already down this path, Pickles, I know you hate it too, they will probably be the best at this. They just seem to be a cut above. I did not like Apple. I tried to get that controversial New England Patriot documentary, Pickles, 3 or 4 times on Apple, and I could not get it. I guess you have to have an Apple product. You have to have something to do. Either way, I tried to do it. I have the app here I have a Samsung smart TV. I couldn't get it. I've never liked Apple. I didn't like Apple when I was in school and when I was in elementary school. I didn't like it in college. I just don't like Apple. I like apples. I just don't like, nothing against Steve Jobs. Yes, they're good looking. They're pretty. I don't like Apple. Okay. Amazon, what I don't like about them is they want to show commercials. Although the quality's good, I don't like the fact they show commercials during their those Thursday night games. I barely watched any of them. Okay. And by the way, the games were terrible anyways. Al Michaels hated it, but he sold out for the money, But Netflix is very good. They are cut above the, and also I'll say this about Netflix. I do respect the heck out of Netflix. One thing, they actually have a number you can call. When I first got a smart TV, I actually talked to a person, believe it or not, Pickles, with Netflix. I like that. But also, remember, Netflix is the best for comedy, okay? Dave Chappelle, whether you like Dave Chappelle or not, they took his back when he had all the trans and the gay joke. Well, really the trans jokes. Took a lot of heat. They really try to cancel Dave Chappelle. And Netflix said, hey, listen, man, it's comedy. If you don't like it, turn it off. But we're not canceling Dave. We like Dave. And I like what they did with Dave. Also, forget about the trans jokes. Do you all recall when Dave Chappelle said that Viacom, CBS, did not pay me the proper amount of money for the shows that I did make? I don't know all the specifics that I did make for the Chappelle Show back when I love Chappelle Show. Those 3 seasons Chappelle did. When he walked away from 30 minutes, but that he said they didn't properly, and they were somehow Netflix got the rights to air the old Dave Chappelle Show, which is really funny. It used to come on Comedy Central back in 2004 or whatever, when Chappelle was really at his peak, 20 years ago. So you know what Netflix did? They took those shows off, and Viacom or whoever made it right with Dave Chappelle. So Netflix put the shows back on, and they're still funny. When I want something to laugh about, I put on those old Dave Chappelle shows. The Rick James skit, Pickles, the guy where he's a black guy who's blind, he's a white racist guy. It was really funny. Oh God, it's hilarious. I think it's Tyler Bigsby or something like that. But anyways, so if this is where it's going, I'd prefer a streaming service like a Netflix to have as many. I'm not a big Peacock guy. I never did watch that game on Peacock where they had the Chiefs and the Dolphins and that Sub-Zero. By the way, I read that Chiefs-Dolphins game, Pickles, where they had those Sub-Zero temperatures. People had fingers amputated from frostbite. I later read that. So that was a kind of a whack game. But if I had to pick one, it would be Netflix. And also Netflix, and I'll clip this later, since you are getting into the sporting world and you're doing a good job at it, you might as well get you a good sports talk show on here and put Sports Scope on there. Let me compete. You don't even have to pay me what ESPN or whoever is paying McAfee or whatever. You could pay me half of that, and myself and Pickles and my whole group here, Mad New Yorker Netflix, we will do a Netflix live sports show, and we'll kick butt and take names. And by the way, I've got don't most of you got the app on your phone? You can listen to it while you're driving home, with their great production skills. So since it is what it is, let's see how this thing plays out. As far as the Jerry Jones documentary, I don't know how good or bad it's going to be, but my guess is it'll probably be, if you read Jimmy Johnson's book, which I'm still a little ticked off at the arrogant mother effer for not wanting to come on here. He's too good for whatever. But there's some good stories in there about Jimmy Johnson helping Jerry sell sweets when he first bought the team, and him getting a commission for it, and him showing people around, talking about everything. And, call Jerry Jones everything you want to call him. I've called him a lot of things, narcissist, whatever, yada, yada, yada. But he is a well of a marketer. And the Dallas Cowboys, love him or hate him, they are the most valuable sports franchise in the world, period. I mean, Manchester United, the Cowboys are more valuable. The Los Angeles Lakers, the Cowboys are more valuable. The New York Yankees, biggest market out there, the Cowboys are more valuable. So I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm looking forward to the 10-part documentary. It's going to be a good one. Now, I don't think any sports documentary will top, and it's also on Netflix, by the way. I don't think any sports documentary will top that Made in America, the O.J. Simpson one. I mean, I love The Last Dance. But there's something about that was like the O.J. thing was like a Greek tragedy. And it also talked about like more than just the murder of his. It talked about like sports marketing before that documentary said that he was more marketable than Ali at the time, Pickles. Now I know you're more around that time period, but he did print ads and the actual ads for Hertz. So he was more marketable than according to that documentary. And it was, it took years to make that documentary. It was really interesting the way that particular documentary played out, not just all the crazy stuff. It's just how many people still loved OJ because he was such a big star in so many different areas. He did drama, by the way. He wasn't great, but he did drama. He did some TV movies, and which I did not know he did those kind of movies. I did know him from the Naked Gun movies, So it's a really good one. If you get bored, that Made in America, I've seen it 2 or 3 times, and I may watch it again. The first major black athlete to get mass marketing. Okay. He was on a TV show with Joe. I didn't know Joe Namath had a TV show. It was very 70s, fluffy looking chairs and stuff. So it's good stuff there. So anyways, looking forward to a lot of this stuff. Not in love with it, but it just is what it is. Streaming is just the way it is. Few other quick notes here. A lot of people think that Rodgers and the Jets just have just the work. And I think I mentioned this the other day. And they are 6. I don't know if I mentioned it. They are 6. And I know I didn't mention this part. We know that the Jets are going to play the 49ers in week 1. And they are 6.5-point underdogs. And I think I may have mentioned this to Jeremy Ballrick the other day from Detroit. And Oh, last year. I mentioned this last year that I thought that was a very high number. 6.5. This team has got Tyron Smith at left tackle. Fashanu even as a backup. They've got Moses over there at right tackle. They've added pieces to their offensive line. Rodgers has been practiced. He's in good shape right now. They added Mike Williams. He's a second-rate receiver, by the way. He's not even – it's Garrett Wilson's their number one receiver, okay? And not to mention the fact that they've got multiple pass rates, including McDonald. I think McDonald had, eight sacks last year, second-year player. And I said this about the Lions against the Chiefs last year. I said that's too high. That's just too high of a – I'm going to take the Lions week 1 against the Chiefs. I'm going to take the Lions week 1 against the Chiefs. And, of course, we know what happened. The Lions went up there and beat them. Of course, we didn't know that Kelce was going to be hurt. But them Naked Gun movies are great, man. Yeah, mass more. Yeah, I mean, so I just if the Jets can stay healthy, you know, and a lot of people still high on Kansas City. Well, Kansas City's got to play Baltimore and Cincinnati. I was looking at Cincinnati's roster. They didn't lose as much as I thought they did. The tackle that Cincinnati got, this Mims guy, this right tackle they got in the first round, this guy's not even considered to be the starter yet. He's a backup there in Cincinnati. You know, and I was talking to this guy I go to church with from Cincinnati. He mentioned all those rookie safety. They brought Von Bell back, by the way. Former safety, brought him back. And he mentioned the rookies they had last year. And I thought, yeah, and look how they finished last year. They still finished with a winning record. And those guys started to catch on towards the – by the way, folks, do you recall Cincinnati playing Kansas City last year with Jake Browning? I know you have, Pickles. Cincinnati had the lead on them early in that game. Same offense coordinator, same defensive coordinator, one of my favorites in the league. Cincinnati, the Burrow's got to stay healthy. If he don't stay healthy this year, I may be out on Burrow. He's got to keep that wrist healthy. Of course, they got Orlando Brown on the left tackle. And Jermaine Burton. Jermaine Burton's one of the most underrated wide receivers out there. They got him from Alabama, big playmaker from Alabama. I'm surprised they got him when they got him, but they got him. You know, they got rid of Boyd. They let Boyd walk, but Burton's going to be really good. T. Higgins, not happy, but he's going to play on that franchise tag. He'll have the best season of his career, I think, this year. And who's to say they won't? I had them winning the Super Bowl last year. Who's to say they won't win it this year? And going back to, Pickles mentions Rodgers out of excuses. Rodgers has got Bryce. I mean, Breece Hall would be my guy. You know, Breece Hall will be my guy. They got the best secondaries in football, the Jets do. You know, now, of course, it's obviously Saleh is on the hot seat, and Rodgers is going to have to stay healthy. I think they should just be a short passing team, and for the most of the game, running, short passing. Then you set up play action seldomly. I put it nicely. You don't want to, but Fashanu, he was who I mocked in my mock draft for them to pick up anyways. Probably the best air quote pass blocker, not the best run blocker. Best pass blocker out there. So he's going to be Smith's backup. He don't even have to go in there and start. That's the thing about rookies. When you ask a rookie just to take over everything, you want to give them some more room to grow there. I just mentioned that in the quarterback thing with Peyton Manning. So Fashanu don't have to go in there and take. Tyron Smith's 33. He's good for about 12 games. He did a good job protecting Dak Prescott for about 10 years, practically, his blind side, So Saleh is on the hot seat. But I think that they're going to be better than people think. I just got that gut feeling. I really do. I think that they're going to mess around and end up making and this idea with, by the way, Rashid Rice, looks like he's going to get it suspended. I know it's going to be Hollywood Brown. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out for Kansas City. Remember, you got Jim Harbaugh in that division. You got another year with Sean Payton, and then you got Antonio Pierce there, who, hey, believe it or not, he did what he did. He beat you in your own backyard on Christmas Day, okay? Not to mention, they got to play the AFC North again. The Ravens. That Cleveland team is no easy out to nobody, So anyways, it's a first place schedule. And there's a lot of other games. A lot of storylines I got to talk about. By the way, the off-season New York Giants, Hard Knocks, they're going to go over. Their draft and all that. It's a different Hard Knocks type of Hard Knocks. It's going to not just be preseason. Can't wait to see that. Wish Hard Knocks was on Netflix, be honest with you. Which the Giants probably end up getting a high draft pick with the Patriots here, if you ask me. So anyways, folks, if you like the show, share the show. Yeah, Rashid Rice supposedly hit some photographer or something. Then he's got his rec issue. I've read that he's going to get multiple game suspension, maybe 6 or 7 now. And then, of course, they're really going to depend on those young players there. So anyways, have Mad New Yorker. We'll talk about these games, go over that comeback by Denver here and that being down 0-2. And, of course, I'll get the Mad New Yorkers madness on the Giants schedule. We'll talk about the Jets and whatnot. We'll get some takes on and I'll dig a little bit deeper into the Titans schedule next week here, and we'll look at that as well. So anyways, folks, have a good night, everybody. I'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, here on Sports Scope.